Dibbo, my Dragons supporter. Both of us are happy today with our team over the last round. Afternoon, evening, Dibbo. How you doing?
Good, mate. Yourself?
Bro, let me tell you, as a Dogs fan, I'm telling you, as a Dogs fan, we're pretty happy. We're pretty happy.
Of course. Be ecstatic. Yeah, you should be ecstatic,
Um,
man. That was clinical. That was pretty. You know what? It was better than the scoreline suggested. I'll tell you why. I know he's only bet him 20-6, but that first half, Cronulla got bailed out so many times. Even the first half of the second half, Cronulla was getting the favourable calls by the referee, the piggybacks. You guys were missing some personnel, stuck firm. I thought you could have scored a few more tries as well. So 20-6, I felt like it deserved to be like a 32-6. That was quite the performance. You know, I thought Sexton had his best game of his career. That was absolutely brilliant by him. Played out of his skin, kicked well, he organised the attack well. The boys defended out of their skin. That was absolutely brilliant. Sitting at home from a neutral point of view, I was actually full of admiration for Canterbury. They actually ruined my perfect round. If you all recall, I didn't actually tip Canterbury, so that's one I was actually wrong, and I'll happily accept I was wrong. After that game, I know it's only fourth round, and we're going into the fifth round, but I've actually kicked Cronulla out of my top four and replaced them with Canterbury. Canterbury have exposed Cronulla as frauds. They've unlocked the formula to betting Cronulla. I don't really expect Cronulla to do a dent. They do have the forwards, but I think Canterbury's got the blueprint to beat them from here. So Canterbury is now in the top four, and their stocks grow every week. I don't have them a serious premiership contender this year. I'll tell you now, their stocks grow even more next year when they get more forward personnel. Their players become more experienced. Young guns such as Jack Todd, Harry Hayes will really find their feet going towards the back end of this year and going in towards next year. So exciting times for Canterbury and Canterbury fans ahead. I'll tell you what, man, they've got a big few years coming up if they can just keep it together.
So who did you have in your top four if you're replacing the Sharks with us?
Look, it's the usuals. Look, Penrith, I still think will still be there.
Yep.
They'll find a way. I know this is only after 4 rounds, but already, like, Canterbury's already displaced Cronulla, like, they've earned it. My top four is the same, pretty much what we had. It's going to be Melbourne, Penrith, Brisbane, and Canterbury. Did I miss someone from who I'm not putting there?
You think? Do you actually think that the Broncos will make the top four? Is that? I mean,
I think they will, because, like, you can't forget the year before they made the grand final and they had it pretty much in the bag. So obviously we saw a masterclass by Nathan Cleary in the last 15 minutes. Last year was a car wreck. I don't think Michael Maguire is going to let them make it a car wreck for him, if you know what I mean. They got a lot of talent. We'll both agree. They got a lot of talent.
look,
They got players.
I don't disagree. Look, I don't disagree. Right, I don't disagree that they have a lot of talent, but I don't know. I just don't think that the Broncos are going to be consistent enough to be able to put a real dent in the competition. I mean, look, obviously me, that's my obviously my opinion, but that's sort of what I'm sort of leaning towards. And honestly, I reckon I'll die by that hill.
That's just after 4 rounds, like I said. Anyone will tell you, anyone's silly to say, judging the rest of the year from the first 4 rounds. And it's only 4 rounds in. But I'm just saying, as I said, at this stage, these are the 4 sides. Like, Penrith is hard to displace. Once they get their champion halfback, I know they've been under par. Cronulla's definitely out of my top 4. They lost to an understrength Penrith. They got walloped by Canterbury at home. They scraped by last week. They're definitely out of my top 4. No space for them.
Cronulla. Yeah,
definitely out of my top 4. I'll tell you, stocks are also rising. Not as much as your team. Your team deservedly deserves the top 4.
Yep.
I don't have them sitting 4th. I actually got them sitting maybe, I'd say about 3rd, maybe 2nd at this stage. I know Melbourne lost last week, but just still got them first. Oh, they were actually quite garbage, I thought, against the Dragons. Plus, there was a call or two there I thought the Dragons got favourable, which I was surprised they gave them.
But
The
the way
Warriors. Yep, yeah, go on.
Sorry, I was going to say the way the Dragons defended, they thoroughly deserved it. They thoroughly deserved to win that match. They played. I mean, I don't know if you would say they completely outplayed, but they were excellent and they deserved that win, in my opinion.
Well, I thought, look, Melbourne was missing Jerome Hughes, plus a few other players. Just saying, look, and their attack was they weren't really flawed in attack. If you used to seeing Melbourne that puts you to the sword. Plus, Shane Flanagan's got this knack of playing. Somehow he gets under Bellamy. Like he's plays this knack of negative football against Bellamy. He's had the success over the years of playing that stop-start negative sort of compressed style against Bellamy and keeping it low scoring or very tight. Like, last year they beat Melbourne in Melbourne. It was in a tight affair, if you recall the grand final. Cronulla over Melbourne. Then the subsequent years, Bellamy always found it tough against Flanagan. It's something he actually touched on in the pre-game interview. About his battles against Flanagan. Yeah. So, but look, there was a few favourable calls for the Dragons. Let's not kid ourselves.
Really,
there.
I think it's. I think. Look, you're being harsh, but we'll get into the Dragons later. We have an excellent performance to talk about with the Bulldogs. Firstly, though, we've a couple of messages in the chat about Eid and stuff like that. So, want to just start off by saying Eid Mubarak to everybody celebrating. Thank you so much for joining us today. Moving forward, we will be at 7:30 live every single week on Tuesday nights to chat all things Bulldogs, all things rugby league. I hope you guys had a great Ramadan. What a great round of footy it was. Let's get into it, guys. Let's absolutely jump straight in to the Dogs v Sharks. But I do want to say that we'll also try and be a little bit more more scripted with our approach to the podcast. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about our attack, then we'll talk about the Dogs' defense, and then we're going to talk about players who stood out. And then we've got some controversial questions that we're going to be asking you guys to join in a discussion. One of them is, and this was actually brought by Dib as an outsider. And this is only one of the questions that we will be discussing further in the podcast is, are the Bulldogs more fluid in attack with Hayward at 6 than with Burton at 6? If so, where does Burton go in the team? That's only one of the questions. I know it's a big question. It's going to get some strong reactions, but I promise we'll get into it and we'll be nice and riled up about it. But what I do want to start with is let's talk about that game against the Sharks, because my God, what a performance by a team that literally almost every single pundit had us losing and losing quite well. Only diehard Doggies fans, even some Doggies fans, were saying that we were going to lose. But we came out, and I think we sort of sent a warning shot to the whole NRL. We're here. This could be our year. We're not waiting till 2026. We're not waiting for more cattle to come. We're going to be killing it this year. And I guess I want to start in that vein with our attack. Now, our attack probably doesn't get as much accolades and as much praise as our defense does, right? Our defense wins us our games. For sure. We'll get into that. We'll get into the scramble that we've got, to some of the individual brilliance that we see in our defense. But one thing I want to really, really focus on today is our attack and Seraldo and Jason Taylor's, I guess, attacking masterclass, our attacking prowess, right? So, firstly, I want to start off with some of the stats. We completed at 85% and had 55% of the ball. They actually had the faster play the ball than us, but we had more running meters, we had more post contact meters, and we had almost twice as many meters in kicks than the Sharks, right? Mind you, their forward pack has Anfanil Blake, Oregon Kafusi. They've got Tapuha, I think his name is Taupohu, on the bench. Sorry, I butchered that name. I apologize, bro.
Some big boppers there.
Mate, they've got absolute big boppers. And, they've got Rudolph, Talakai, Hal Tapuha. Yeah, Hal Tapuha, that's his name. And we still managed to make them look like they were average at best. Now, say what you will about our small pack, but we outwork and we outplay every single pack in the competition. I think that, the Titans have a monstrous pack and they looked like they were nothing. And I dare say, the only other fourth pack that I think would even come close to them would be someone like the Broncos. And I don't think that the Broncos will be able to outplay our pack. And, the game plan by Seraldo is a very interesting one. I think that there was a lot of criticism about how we played against the Eels. And that was a very defense-focused game. But I think we went into that game with a defensive focus. But the game plan for the Sharks was very, very different. And there's a couple of examples that show that the Bulldogs are experimenting with their attack. So a couple of examples come to mind was, obviously, we mentioned the Titans, and they played on a very, very hot Sunday evening. It was about 36, 37 degrees. And even Seraldo said that the attack was a bit, the game plan was different because it was a hot day and they wanted more mobile forwards coming up against a big pack that would get tired. And so he chose Harry Hayes in the team as opposed to Daniel Saluka Fafita, which, as we saw, paid dividends, right? Against the Broncos last year, where our whole season had been based on defense, they went up there to Suncorp, and the way they played was they ran the team ragged. We were expansive, we were playing flamboyant, and we absolutely tore them. Against the Sharks, even though we came with a defense-first mentality, we pretty much destroyed them up the middle by continuously being more fit than them, by continuing to send forwards in and under, right? And by the end of the first half, even their backs were tired. Not to mention, someone like Anfanil Blake, Oregon Kafusi, even their second rowers, their play the balls had slowed down considerably. And I think you have to give credit where it's due. This is an incredible coaching performance by not only Seraldo, but by Jason Taylor. I think he goes unnoticed in a lot of this, in just how much work he does with the halves in creating an attacking plan. What are your thoughts on that, Dibbo?
Look, I think you've got to give more credit to the players. You already touched on it. Your forwards outplayed theirs. Look at their forward pack. It's double the size of yours. It's stacked. Your boys absolutely schooled them. Sent them for a 6. You absolutely took them out of the game. Their halves weren't able to do anything. Their backline wasn't able to flow. They literally had 2 or 3 chances. They blew one, yes. Outside that one try to Iro, or Iro, however they say it these days, they didn't have much chances. You guys absolutely snuffed them out. Your forward pack, wow. Harry Hayes, again, solid up the middle. Hits with he's hitting some good shots this year. He's making his mark in defence, not just making the tackle, he's completing the tackle and giving him some interest on top. Honestly, to go down there and dominate their forward pack, hey, those boys deserve a lot more credit. And then on the back of your forwards laying the platform, your halves did what they were expected to do. Sexton, without his halves partner, really, really stood tall. They're going to extend his contract. I haven't been critical of Sexton. I was actually glad he came to your club. He's a hard worker who really wanted it. And I think he'll be, he's already played finals footy for 2 different clubs now. I think he'll now play again the way things are going. I know it's only 4 rounds, barring a catastrophe. He'll take you to the finals footy for 2 consecutive years. He kind of like reminds me of, I don't know if anyone of the older crew, or Jamie will probably know, Noel Goldthorpe, St. George halfback. He took St. George to 3 grand finals. Unheralded halfback, diminutive, nothing flash about a game. But like Sexton, he found their way through. Like he'd break the line, set up the back line. He'd play for the percentages. He'd have a nice kick on him. A good chip over the top. He'd set up the back line. I was actually happy when he came to your side and added, and then obviously he's got rid of a Brian Dibb favourite, Drew Hutchison, to reserve grade. And your team started just moving forward from there on in. It's been absolutely brilliant to watch. Another credit's got to go to Haywood. He hasn't played in a half position. I don't think he's ever played in a half position in first grade, has he? Has he started at a half in first grade?
No.
He's had to play a hooker, lock, out of position.
Utility role, yeah, for 2 years now.
That was absolutely brilliant. Like that team effort was fantastic. Like your backs out wide defended well. Bronson Sherry's he's harder to tackle every week. It's something I actually noted from the first or second round. He's put on size. He's getting harder to tackle. And did you see that try he scored? He just ran through him.
That was
a big center.
That was all effort. That was all motivation and drive. Like you could tell.
And he's only improving from me. And he's only improving from me. Don't forget, 4 years out. Last year, wow. But back in this is his second year back. He's going to be a force. I think he already is a force,
to be honest. I think,
Sorry, I'll rephrase that. He's going to be a devastating force. Because do you remember him when he debuted for Cronulla?
Amazing.
Who remembers? Everyone thought he'd play Origin the next year, and rightfully so. Even that, so he was just turn of speed, everything. Second year, if he doesn't play Origin this year, as long as he just keeps going from strength to strength, he's got to be knocking on that door for the centers position. At the moment, I think the centers are Crichton and Best. Crichton picks himself, unless you want to play Latrell in the other position. If you don't, and you want to put him at the back, then basically it looks like Canterbury will probably have their. I mean, Bradman Best can definitely be challenged by Sherry, because Sherry's defense has been absolutely fantastic. It's a nice headache to have for State of Origin. You got about 4 or 5 centers that should be putting on the national jumper as well, and you got to try to fit them into 2 positions. It's a wonderful headache. And your wingers, Montoya. Look, Montoya, he's picked up where he left off from the Warriors. Was playing in the centers.
No, he was on the wing for the Warriors. He was definitely on the wing for the Warriors.
And he was devastating for the Warriors in the centers the year before. And mate, he's lost Jarrell Skelton. This guy's come in and he's doing a lot of work for you guys. A lot of meeting, a lot of meters eaten. He's been really good in defence. Hey Jamie, I'm just a bandwagon fan. We beat Melbourne. I think there's a Melbourne fan. His name's Skinny Zahid. Might be tuning in. So, has my microphone gone?
Sorry, guys. I think there may have been.
Give me a second.
Wait. Stay, Debo.
Have I disconnected? Have I?
Sorry, just give me a sec.
I can hear you, Elmo. I can hear. Well, hang on a sec. I'm just going to check my.
Yeah, sorry, Debo. Sorry about that.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Oh.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. So it was your. Yeah. Sorry, I was about to play with my settings. All right.
Yeah, sorry, guys. I'm not sure what happened.
Sorry.
Something must have disconnected.
Yeah, I was just giving credit to. I don't know if you heard me. I was giving credit to Montoya. I mean, obviously Connor Tracy's doing Connor Tracy. He's not. He's not the greatest fullback in the world, but he's playing like a champion fullback at the moment. The whole team's just all well together. I just want to point out something who I think is the weakness in your team at the moment, and I think he can do a lot better. It's your hooker.
Look, before we get into that,
his service out of dummy half, very average.
All right. Before we get into that, I'm going to ask everybody on this chat to do 2 things for me. Number 1, can you tell Debo to shut up about money? Number 2, if you're new here, if you like this podcast, please everybody give me like the video. Make sure to click subscribe, share it with people who are big doggy supporters, and please make sure You follow us on all our socials as well. But please just give this video a like, mutilate as Thugalisha said, mutilate the like button,
Mutilate.
please. That'll help us a lot, please. So thank you very much. But look, I'm going to get into the Mahoney discussion a little bit later, but I just want to talk about our attack. I just want to just stick on this one topic because Jamie Teasdale, one of our channel members, who's been a member with us for over 8 months, who supports us all the time, gives us super chats every single week, to help support the podcast. He's asking you a question, and I think it's a very relevant question. And this is straight from Jamie, right? This is his question. Do you think Seraldo will be the next super coach like Wayne or Bellyache? He seems to get the best out of the boys. He's turned a bunch of bench playing utilities into a first grade footy side, and he done it all while everyone was doubting him and the players. I believe he will be the next super coach. Now, I'm interested to hear what Dibbo has to say, but I'm also very, very keen to see what the chat thinks about that. Is Seraldo, are we seeing the formation or the growth of a super coach? Are we seeing the beginnings of an absolute legend of our sport in terms of coaching? What do you guys think? Dibbo, thoughts?
On Seraldo?
Yeah.
He's heading in that right direction. I don't want to say anything yet till he gets the first premiership. It's so early to call. It's so unfair to put that on him. You can't. For me, a super coach is a coach that wins 3+ grand finals. 3+ premierships. But really, for me, a super coach is a coach that goes and wins at 2 different clubs. Or can make the grand final with 2 different clubs. You get me? That's what it is. Like, it's hard to find. You know what? Look, the modern coach, they sit at the one club for 20, 30 years, whatever it is, and win their premierships all there. I'd like to see a coach win a few premierships at a club, leave, go to another club, and try his hand there. Like Tim Sheens was, I'll give you an example. Tim Sheens was out in Canberra. We know he won the 3 premierships there. I think he took him to 4 grand finals. Then he left. He went to the Cowboys. It didn't work out there, but he kind of started building the core of the players that eventually, some of them stuck around and played in that 05 grand final. But then he went to the West Tigers, built them up, won a premiership with them, and then got close, got close to them, about 4 or 5 years later, a few times knocked out in the preliminary finals. Something like that. I like seeing coaches go to another club and trying their hand winning premierships at 2 different clubs. That, for me, is a super coach. That's what I reckon. Craig, he's only stuck at Melbourne. They had the salary cap scandal there as well. He didn't really challenge himself. I don't think he's challenged himself to go out there and coach somewhere else. Like Wayne was at Brisbane. What did he win there? 6 premierships, I think. And then he left, did the impossible task at St. George. And then he went from... Yeah, honestly, it's just as bad as making Cronulla win a premiership. Cronulla had not won anything for 50 years. It took a few salary cap rorts plus peptides plus dirty tactics from Shane Flanagan to eventually get Cronulla a premiership. Some clubs are, they're not meant to it's near impossible to win premierships with them. Like, you got to give credit for Wayne. St. George was pretty much a poison chalice before he got there. He won the title. He's left since then. It's been a poison chalice. Just show you the task he had. He went to Newcastle. He got him to a preliminary final. He didn't have a crash hot squad there. He got him to prelim. He left, and then he went to Brisbane. He almost had a fairy tale return, if you remember.
Yep, until one.
And then he's taken South. Yep, and then he's taken South to a grand final. He's been in the initial rebuild for the Dolphins. I don't know how that's going to go, but he took South to a grand final. It was a tight one. 14-12, I think it was a goal kick difference, and now he's back at Souths. Des won a few at Manly. He took Canterbury to a few grand finals. He should have won at least 1 premiership at Canterbury. Come on, we all agree.
Oh look, I think 100% 2012 should have been the Dogs' grand final.
Melbourne played the perfect grand final. Honestly,
look, they did, but they also that team. Like, if you're really honest with it, I think
What a
that
team that
yeah,
Canterbury
great
was.
team, but they
Canterbury,
forget
wow. What a year Canterbury did. I
there was
can't
a
believe they didn't win that grand final.
that
Anyways,
Ben Barber, that Ben Barber,
what a season, eh?
yeah, I mean
And
one of the
what,
best seasons in history. So, but I
13
mean,
years on,
but
and
do
they're
you
still
agree
talking about
that
it.
do you agree that what Seraldo's been able to do and the amount that he's been
He's
able to
building.
bring,
He's building
like
to something special. Anyone
where
that
the
denies
Bulldogs
that,
are today, like if you remember, like to be very blunt, like if you remember, 3 years ago, I remember the pain that we felt to even talking about, um, on this podcast. If you guys remember, we watched the Bulldogs lose 66-0 to a fairly average Newcastle Knights team, coached by a fairly average coach.
and you got your revenge. Do you remember how bad
Look,
you
we
wanted
did
that
get our
revenge?
revenge. We did get our revenge, but let's be really honest.
Those
The
comments
amount we've
off air.
come. Pardon?
I'm saying all those comments you're making off air, you got your revenge, mate. You were
Oh
dirty, I
man,
remember.
if you look at how far we've come, it hasn't even been 2 years since that game, right? We are now being looked at as we're the real deal. We are real contenders for the game for the premiership this year. After 4 rounds, we have not lost, and I don't know when we'll actually lose. So the amount of work that Seraldo's been able to do in 2 years is ridiculous. The amount of players he's brought through, right, and brought them to become successful, great first graders. You look at Preston, you look at Bailey Haywood, you look at Bronson Sherry, you look at Sam Hughes, you look at Connor
Oh yeah.
Tracy, like all these players, like Jack Todd is brought through now. Harry Hayes is magnificent. Max King, comes from the Storm, didn't really perform, brought him here, and now look at them. He's made them,
I think
at the moment, the best team in the competition.
I
So
think Max King was at Gold Coast as well.
he was, and who knew
Yeah, he's
Max
got
King
it. He's
before
been
being with the
around.
Bulldogs?
He's building.
You
Look,
know,
there's no denying anyone that says he's not building to something special. Is either just in denial or just hating and thinking they're going to fail. Um, do you remember everyone was giving him stick? What did they finish that year? 14th or 13th? Remember that first year? And he's had a lot of injuries. Remember that horror injury run you guys
yeah,
kept having?
yeah, that's
Remember?
fine.
You know what? I'll give Elmo one thing, and he was copying abuse from I don't know how many are here on here now. Not Jamie, because I know Jamie stuck by it through thick and thin. But Elmo was copying a lot of abuse, if you guys remember, whoever for sticking by Cameron Seraldo. Because and then mate, last year, what did he get? Sixth or
Yeah, we
fifth?
came sixth.
Sixth, and he's in the hunt for a top four to up to like 2 weeks before. It just came down to the last one or 2 weeks. Yeah, and he's just turned it around. Like your memberships have gone through the roof. Your crowds are huge. Your revenue's crazy. Like he's operating at a big profit. You can't even drive on Burwood Road in Belmore after a game anymore, even if it's a loss, which is far few in between these days. The fans still gather there. Sentiment's high. The team's always in the media for the right reasons, of course. It's great to see. These are the talk of town. And I want to say these are the talk of town, not just by Canterbury fans. Every other club fan is talking about you guys. I go to work, and they're talking about you at head office in Queensland on the sunny coast. Oh, did you guys see the Canterbury fans? A lot of haters out there. Who cares?
Okay,
They can be the boring
and
cunts
just to
that
show
go
you the
home.
haters, in the chat. This is just a hypothetical discussion. This is not a yes or a no. So I'm going to point out some comments. I want to talk, right? So Liver81 Chef is saying, I don't agree, sorry. He's saying let's not be like ill supporters celebrating the grand final, after 4 rounds. Tariq Ahmed is a Cowboys supporter.
It's not
Let's
about.
take a deep breath.
They got
We
it
don't want to
wrong.
pull a Parramatta, win
It's
the
just
first
having a
quarter, and
good
think
time.
about to win the grand final, right?
It's making the game day experience awesome. I guarantee you now, Canterbury fans, it's a new generation. They're not selling like he's going to win the grand final. It's all about the game day experience. It's just let's have a good time. I can tell you now, they're not celebrating like thinking they're going to win the grand final. They've just taken game day experience to a whole new level. I guarantee you, other clubs down the track, their fans will start doing the same thing eventually, unless they're just shit
Mate,
fans.
we're setting the trend for the NRL,
Exactly.
but I think I think what we can agree, right? that the Bulldogs are absolutely killing it. And if we're even having this discussion where we think that Seraldo is going to become, a legend of a coach, I think that bodes very, very well. Live 81 saying we're having land. I love it. I love it. Have as many lens. Please keep going. Don't stop. I'm always smiling. My doggies just smashed the Sharks in Shark Park and
Who's
buzzing,
this?
having a sook. But there's nothing
Who's
better. There's nothing better than waking up in the morning. Nothing
who's
better than
liver
waking up in the
81?
morning. Pardon?
Who's liver 81?
It's a great friend of mine who's also a Broncos supporter.
No.
But
Your
but
old
if you,
sparring partner's back. Samiaba
uh,
Williams, did you see him? Anyways.
yeah, but I mean, like, if you think about just what's happening now in rugby league with the Bulldogs sort of putting this on and becoming the benchmark at the moment, it's fantastic. And Jamie Tisdale, it's a great question. Thank you so much for putting it through. And guys, if you guys aren't members, you can become members to the channel. It's like, it costs like maybe $5 or $6 a month. And cost of a coffee just helps us run the podcast, helps us continue to create content and sort of be available. So if you do, you can go to YouTube and become a member. If not, just give us a like, make sure to subscribe, be here with us every week. We'll be here every week at 7:30. We love you guys, and this is amazing. I love it. And you know what, the season's just getting started. And I don't see the doggies losing for a very long time. In any case,
Does anyone?
Brian.
Yeah, go on. You're right. Elmo, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to go on and wanted to have a look just to some comments that I missed. But yeah, Brian Deep said it took him forever to pick Sex Bomb. But yeah, just on our form. Basically, last year we didn't start with Sexton, and we sort of won. Maybe we lost 3 of our first 4. This year we start with Sexton, and we're sort of 4 in a row. It just goes to show that Sexton does make a difference to our team. And to be honest, I thought the way he performed against the Sharks in attack, was, for me, very telling of where he wants to be as a halfback. This guy, his short kicking game was great. His long kicking game, his boot was massive. Against the Eels, everyone was like, oh, he's got a small boot. He came out and proved the doubters wrong against the Sharks. And then, his passing game, both left and right, for him to be able to identify that Atkinson had gone into center because Kale Iro was injured, and then to send the ball down towards Critter multiple times to try and beat Atkinson and beat them on the right edge to really tear them apart. That, for me, shows that not only is he aware, not only is he a smart 7, but he's a capable 7 that can execute a game plan. Because I felt the whole game he was able to execute to a T, and it also shows me that he's in tune with Jason Taylor, who is our attacking coach. And reports about DCE coming to the Bulldogs and Gus wanting to sign DCE. Who the heck is DCE? We have a Sexton. We don't need a DCE, and I'm going to put it on the record that Sexton can be a grand final premiership winning halfback. I'll die on this hill. I am a big fan of what Sexton's doing. And the way he was talking, the way he was barking orders at the scrum, in defense, in attack, making sure people were in their positions, setting the formations. For me, it was so great to see that he was what we needed, and that's great. Now, Liver Liver 81 Chef has asked, let's talk about what you're going to do with Burton. What are you going to do? I think put him into the centers. Look, we can't put him at center because we have 2 of the best centers in the competition at the moment in Critter and Sherry.
Just release him. Use the money for Payne Haas. Get him in your front row. See you later, Berto. Not needed.
Hey, Brian Dibb has an agenda against me. He
hasn't forgotten. He's got a good memory.
He has an agenda against me. Not once did I choose or did I say that I wanted Hutchison over Sexton. But I'll roll with it. Look, if I ever disparage Sexton, I'm sorry, because I think he's fantastic. Yeah. Hey, Moot FM, thank you very much. Honestly, Moot FM, thank you very much. You're on Birdo to Center chat. Every man and his dog thinks that they're they're rugby league pundit. They're a rugby league pundit because they say, oh, Birdo to Center. Get out of here. Get out of here. You're not sophisticated or smart when you keep saying
No, I
Birdo to
can't say.
Center.
No one can say the set anymore because you got Sherry and Crichton there. He can't fit there.
Oh man.
He
Yeah.
can't fit there anymore. So we've got to say Burton to lock. You know, that's if Curran's not playing in lock.
Nah.
No, look, it'll revert. Look, I'll tell you what happened. It'll revert to when Berto comes back because it's worked. It's the winning formula, and he's pretty much their marquee player. He'll go back to 5'8". Hayward will go back to his customary role on the bench. I'll tell you what. Really impressed me with Canterbury as well. He wasn't there, and they didn't have to rely on him doing things and putting up his bombs and whatever, his kicking game and that. They knew they all had to work that extra hard, and it was even more effective.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I'm gonna say something. I want to make a comment to Liver 81 Shaf, right? No chance you're taking us.
Who's
Let me
deploying
make
updates? Who keeps
let,
revealing stuff?
let me let let me give you a bit of an bit of some inside news, Liver 81 Shaf, that before he re-signed with the Broncos on that astronomical deal where he's probably one of the highest paid players in rugby league ever, there was a verbal agreement for Haas to come to the Bulldogs. I've never mentioned this, but there was a verbal agreement that Haas was going to come to the Bulldogs.
What happened there?
Obviously, the Broncos played hardball, and the Broncos wanted to keep him, and they knew how important Haas was to them. So he ended up staying, and they bent over. And Kevy was a big part of that, to be honest. Kevy was a big part of Haas staying at the Broncos. But there was an agreement for Haas to come to the Bulldogs. So anyone that thinks that Haas is going to stay. That is going to stay at the Broncos. Look, it's going to be a big negotiation, and now that the salary cap will be going up with the next TV rights deal, you're going to have to pay Payne Haas a lot more than what he's on at the moment to keep him. Because let me tell you, even though he's a prop, he's probably as valuable as any player in the competition. Any player in the competition. Now, we sort of went off track, but I love it because this is mad discussion. But look, Burton is a 5'8". Burton is proving day in, day out that Burton is one of the better 5'8s in the competition. Last year, he was almost the 5'8 of the year, Dally M 5'8 of the year. And only didn't beat him barely, which I didn't think was right anyway. So it's one of those things where people start to see his value. His kicking game, his long kicking game is the best in the competition, probably one of the best we've ever seen. I don't care. You can go bang your head on the wall. His long kicking game is one of the best in the world. And look, it's been one of the best ever.
Burton?
So anybody still, Burton. Anyone that still says center, they get out of my face, man.
If I was Burton, I'd stop playing rugby league and go get an NFL contract because he'll earn at least quadruple what he's on now. At least. Honestly, he'd make a killing in the NFL. He thumps the ball further than AFL plays. He honestly,
does. He's amazing. He's amazing.
He can do. How old is he now? 24, 25?
I think he's 25, turning 26, something like that.
If he goes to the NFL now, let's say, he's got a 15-year career in the NFL, and his earnings will be somewhere between 60 mil to 100 mil at least in the NFL. Like, that's just going on now. You don't know how much they're earning in 10 years, will be even more.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I want to give a quick shout out. Sorry, I want to give a quick shout out to Rayman. Rayman, we actually met him at the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs Ramadan Iftar. It was such a pleasure. We met him and his father. We had a mad chat about the doggies and about the podcast. And honestly, it was so nice to meet you there, Brian. It's good to see you live on the podcast today. It was a great win against the Sharks. We were talking about that. If the doggies can defend well, they can win. So thank you so much for always being on the chat and being here. Brian Dibb wants me to ban anyone that says Birdo to center. No, look,
But
I think you know
Berto to centre. Yeah, okay.
we're
Fit the left the
you
other
know
way. Scott
we're,
Wood.
we're
Love it, Scott.
we're open to diverse ideas. We can mock them, we can shit on them, but we're not going
But
to
they
ban
played better
anyone.
without him. Like, I don't know why Brian's getting upset.
Hey, we're gonna get to that discussion soon. We are gonna get to that
Play
discussion
better. It was
soon.
only one game, but how many games is he out for?
I mean, honestly, he could probably return next year. Sorry, next week against the Knights, but they're going to keep him to round 7 just to make sure that
The dog.
he's good.
Who the Dogs got this week? Don't they have the Knights this week?
Yeah, we have the Knights.
Yeah, I
We,
hope they tell up the Knights this week, and then the Dogs got the bye next week.
yeah, then we have the bye.
Yeah, or I hope they tell up the Knights this week just to prove a point.
Yeah, I mean, like I think we'll do very well against the Knights. Not that the Knights aren't going to be good, and I think um, I think that the Knights will try hard, but outside of Ponga and Dylan Lucas is out this week, they're not going to be able to do much. Now, I want to get a little bit back to just about our attack. We talked about how they were able to adapt the attack. Actually, very quickly, Mace Biggs is asking potential DCE replacement, fellas. We don't need any DCE replacements. We've got a Sexton, and I think Sexton. We're just talking that Sexton is, I think more than enough for us. He's going to continue to improve. The way we've started this year compared to the way we started last year is, I think, a big reflection of us having Sexton as half. He has played great, and I think like with the development of Joey O'Neill, Mitch Woods coming through, with Sexton there still being quite young, I think we're set for sevens. I don't think we need to be going out and breaking the bank. Someone else mentioned something that's very, very interesting that we will talk about a little bit later in the podcast is Tom Amone potentially being shopped around to UK clubs. So we'll talk about that. X Defiant Updates is talking about Leah Thompson named when he did his MCL 3 weeks ago. MCLs, depending on the grading of the MCL, could be between either 1 to 6 weeks. So it's not that bad. Mace Biggs. It's not about choosing Sexton over DCE. It's about, realistically speaking, we have we have a 7 that's doing the job. Do we want to go out and ruin the balance of our team over the next 2 years for a 36-year-old halfback who would probably only play one more year, and then in the back end of his career, in the back end of the contract, he'll probably won't play as often, might get injured, so on and so forth. It's all about context. It's not just the name. Now, finally, I want to touch just a couple of things on our attack is our fitness. Like, our fitness and defense, we've always known is there, but when you are able to attack so consistently and play to that level in attack and have the high footy IQ that the whole team showed, especially being directed by Sexton and Haywood, who's only played 5'8" now twice. Like, I'm amazed. I remember after that game, I was just like, I have no words to describe how good the Bulldogs are this year. I cannot believe, right, that we've played so well. And our fitness, honestly, it's like we looked at the Sharks, we told them, we're going to destroy you. You have nothing. And if you guys saw, towards the back end of the first half, what I realized was even Aiden Fanua-Blake, his play the ball speed slowed down. Mulatalo, Sam Stone Street, even Jaden Brayley, Brayley, the 9, their ability to attack slowed down quite considerably, right? It was just insane how we were able to. Our fitness was still up through the roof. We should have scored that game. We should have scored that try by Montoya right on halftime, but we didn't. But it just showed that we were attacking, and even in the 79th, 80th minute, Satili Tupanua puts that hit on, on Trindle. Our attack is just, if we can continue to improve our attack, we'll be hard to beat. And I'm just so blown away. What are your thoughts on that, Dibbo?
So what was that last sentence you said?
Just about our fitness in attack and our ability to tire the opposition out.
Yeah, look, when Cam came in, there was a big emphasis, obviously, on fitness, on doing the 1%ers, the dirty work. That's probably why he brought Salmon with him as well. And eventually the club will move beyond having Salmon in their lineup. But phenomenal. If somebody misses a tackle, a couple of players have really swallowed him up. Like, absolutely swallowed him up. Like everyone goes, oh, yeah, Canterbury missed 35 tackles this half to the opposition's 20. But the scoreline at the half-time's 18-4 in Canterbury's way. Like I see it. It's just this choking or whatever, swallowing, or it's like they make the opposition basically tread water or drowning. Yeah, all right. For example, Hayward will rush up. He's forced the player to go left. He's missed, but then he's affected. He's missed the tackle, but he's really affected the player to slow down. Then two players already nailed the player, and he's on the ground. It's just that swarming sort of defense. It's from a neutral point of view. I love watching a game from a neutral point of view. I've gone beyond the stage of watching. I'm holding. I've got to watch a game from a hating or a bias point of view, but it's just admirable to see. That's what it is. It's just that swarming defense that chokes the opposition's attack. It's frustrating if it's your side because they can't seem to get traction. It is really frustrating because at the same time, the Canterbury forward pack's not big. They got midgets in the side such as Mahoney and Hayward. Yeah, and then they got skinny backliners, for example, such as Salmon. He's really a half or a centre. He's converted into a forward, for example. Curran's not the biggest forward in the world either. And these players, they're not rep players. You get me? But I think Preston will be a rep player, and I wouldn't be surprised if he keeps going the way he goes this year, gets chosen into the New South Wales team. It's well warranted and well deserved. But they're not rep players, and everyone thinks, oh, yeah, that opposition fullback should bash them by about now. But, it's just, yeah, it's like, all right, we got Canterbury this week. How are we going to break their team now? Honestly, anyone that's not questioning that as a fan, honestly, he's got no idea. Honestly, no respect, no idea. I guarantee in our teams, if they're not like I'm talking about club personnel and professional players aren't discussing that at training, then honestly, it's at their own peril. That they're not questioning how we're going to break these guys down or bash them or batter them.
What is the weakness? Like honestly, a lot about that. I feel like
my weakness? The weakness for you guys, and I don't care how much hate you guys get, and I'm giving it from a neutral point of view. It's an area that it's your hooker, and I'll stick by it. It is your hooker.
All right.
It gives away penalties.
Energy. Hang on, keep that same energy when we bring it to it. When we bring to Mahoney, we're gonna have a discussion about Mahoney. I just want to round out the game.
I really do. I think if you guys get a world class hooker, because he's not world class for me, I think you guys will improve. Oh wow! Imagine you guys have. Wow! Imagine you have a hooker that splits them up the middle. Whew.
So,
anyways, go on.
All right. If we go into our defense, because we've spoken about attack, let's go into defense. People are saying we're emulating the Panthers' defensive style. I agree. Given that it was Seraldo that sort of helped build that.
I just think the attack was brilliant.
Yeah, and the attack was brilliant. So I don't care if people say we're emulating the Panthers, because you know what? Why not emulate the team that's won 4 grand finals in a row and a good chance to win 5 unless we can make it there?
Oh yeah.
We win on our defense. There's no denying that. And one thing I think that's really interesting is our average, our missed tackles on average this year so far is actually less than 2024, which I think is very interesting, and I think it's going to continue to improve. Though Mahoney's tackle efficiency is a little bit down, just in terms of defense. But I want to talk about just our defensive efforts and our scramble. I think our scramble is actually better this year than it was last year. Now, Livo81 is going off about Mahoney. Brother, listen. You guys has Walters as your 9 for God knows how long. If anyone should not be talking about 9s, it's a Broncos supporter, right? You guys had Walters there for a long time. Mahoney is not a liability. Some of the defensive efforts that he made against
I'll rephrase. He's not up to your team's standard. Does that sound better? You guys are setting
No.
some high standards.
Nah.
I'm
He is
telling you,
part of setting that standard. He
he's
was there setting those standards
yeah,
before we knew
his
what the
service
standards
is
were.
very
Nah.
average.
No. Listen, I want to call out 2 try-saving tackles in the game that honestly pleased me so much, and I reckon Seraldo will go to sleep with a big smile on his face every night after watching these. Right, the first one, and these are like tackles of the freaking year so far. The first one was in the first half when the Sharks went right and they passed the ball out, got to Sam Stone Street, and then he kicked the ball, and then Harry Hayes comes from absolutely nowhere to snuff the play out, get the ball, keeps the ball in hand, right, and ensures that he saves the try. Right? What a remarkable try saver that was from a guy who started on the bench, who I, as a Bulldog supporter, thought, why do we have this guy on the bench? We need a bigger forward. We need to be this. We need to be that. He's unreal. This dude is next level. Like, honestly, this dude is next level. Harry Hayes, he has the work ethic. And this is why Seraldo is so great. Like, we talk a lot of crap, right? We talk a lot of crap, but he sees things that, I reckon even other coaches probably don't see. It's just ridiculous. Like that, the way he's brought Hayes through and put faith in him, and then what Hayes is repaying him, or how Hayes is repaying him, is ridiculous. The other one I have to mention was the try-saving tackle by Man on Rudolph. I mean, Rudolph is twice the size of Man. Man is a little nugget, but honestly, that try-saving tackle by Man on Rudolph was absolutely fantastic. Now, it was overshadowed by Mahoney coming in with a swinging hand, which was accidental, but bro, that try-saver, bro, I think my neighbors were going to call the cops. I screamed that loud. I had barely had iftar, right? It was, second last day of Ramadan. I just could not believe that try-saving tackle. It was fantastic. It was absolutely amazing. And that's what the Bulldogs have been built on. The Titans try-saver that Max King made a couple of weeks ago is something that the Bulldogs are building on the back of. And it really goes to show that, they do value their defense more than they value their attack. And the Dogs are nothing if not a defensive team. And look, defense wins you premierships, and I am really genuinely so excited about our season. Debo, some quick thoughts before we move on to the players who stood out.
About the game,
just about the try-saving tackles and the way we defend with our lives.
It's the club's culture. That's what Seraldo wants to see from his team. It's the blueprint. He wants the forwards backing up, not just standing there and thinking it's the backs, got to be chasing down everything. If you like, for example, Brisbane Broncos don't employ this, what you guys are doing. You get multiple forwards always tracking back and pulling off some cracking try-saving tackles. There's one player from Brisbane that always does track back, Payne Haas. Have you seen how he's always, he's the one player.
It plays like a fullback.
He's the one player, and I'm sure every club's got one or two players from the forwards, but Canterbury seems to have the majority of its forwards, or all its forwards, that seem to track back or just come out with this phenomenal play on the line that pulls off a mad try saver. It's something I'm sure Cam Seraldo and his coaching team ram into his players every week. Every week. I'm sure they do 100%. That. It's those whatever you want to call it, Marvel or DC, for example, superhero plays that denies the opposition.
They're the ones that are
idolized.
Try. They're the ones that are like glorified.
And it has to be done, because no matter how much perfect your defense can be, there's one player that's going to sneak through or pull off an extraordinary play, and it takes extraordinary defense to then deny that player. So that's something I'm sure Cam Seraldo's rammed into his team. Probably tried to ram it in from his first year in that injury-interrupted season.
Yeah, 100%.
But it started coming to fruition last year. I remember the game against the Warriors where they could have knocked his off a few times. Bronson Sherry pulled off some crazy try savers from behind, if you remember, on that Warriors young centre.
Even last week Montoya on the Eels, when he comes through and he knocks the ball out of, I forgot whose hand. I think maybe it was Sean Lane or something. Ridiculous.
It came out.
Zahir, Diba, I think one of your hating mates.
That's the Melbourne fan. Yeah,
Oh my god.
he's very bitter. You know, he hasn't obviously he's copped a blow last week. You know, he didn't
You
expect the
guys,
Dragons to
Melbourne
beat him.
lost to the Dragons, brother.
I know.
This could be good entertainment. Get out of here, brother. Get out of here. The Bulldogs are going to slap Melbourne back to Victoria where they belong. All
When's
right?
that
Yeah,
matchup?
we're going to get cocky.
When is that matchup happening?
I don't know. I'll have a look at the draw. But let me tell you, like, a lot of people, and look, it's good that people are discounting us. I actually want people to continue to discounting us for a very, very long time because it's going to be at their peril. It's going to be at their peril, and it's going to be so sweet, and people just don't see us coming because that's how we like it. Now, I want to sort of so what I want to talk about now. Is I want to talk about players who stood out. There's 5 players I want to name specifically because I feel like this game is it's not like they just played good for this one game. I feel like they've played better and better and culminated in really good performance. The first one is Jacob Preston. So every week the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs nominate what they call a dog of the week. And so this week the dog of the week is
Wow, the haters are coming on. Anyways,
Preston. Love the haters. Love the haters. Love the haters. I cannot tell you how much I love seeing the haters. But this week, Preston is dog of the week. Now, if you look at how his performance, so he actually played on the left today this week, replacing
was that your
replacing
choice for
Kickout.
dog of the week?
Oh, it was actually my choice as well. Even on the
Oh,
Kennel
okay.
forums, the kennel.net.au, Preston was rated as the best player. Everybody gave him sort of 3. We do a 3, 2, 1.
No one,
Preston was rated the highest.
no one gave Sherry or Sexton a mention. I thought they
Look,
deserved.
I thought they were good, but I just felt like Preston was everywhere and did everything that was required of him and more. And look, the other thing that I find so incredible about Preston is this guy's only in his 3rd year of first grade.
Yep.
He's was player of the year for the Bulldogs in 2023. Considering we had a bad year, he clearly stood out. Last year, was injury riddled, still stood out. But this year, he started on a different tear, right? From scoring wonderful tries to setting up tries to running massive meters to making tackles. Both of Bailey's balls, as X-Define has mentioned, were behind him. So he had to show some slick hands to be able to not only grab the ball and put it down and juggle it, but the other one was to actually grab the ball and then be able to pass the ball out for Cherry to score that try was, for me, quite remarkable and fantastic. It was, I think he was fantastic. And look, Zahid Badra, the Preston,
I just want to know.
supporter.
He just said 15 sides. So who's the other side he can start at? Because there's 17 teams. So I'm just curious who the other team he can start at.
I love the haters. It's interesting. I think that Preston has outplayed both the second rowers at the Storm this year, both Elisa Katoa and Sean Bloor. He's been better than them across all 4 games. No taking away anything from the second rowers, but I think that just to prove how good Preston has been, a lot of people are currently sort of saying, is he now, up for New South Wales selection? It may not be the first, right? It may not be the first chosen, but you can guarantee that if there's an injury there for the Blues, Preston will be one of the first discussed to be in the second row. Is he an Origin Smoky? I think he is. And look, again, he was playing on the left-hand side. For the last 2 years, he's played on the right, even though he did start off on the left and coming through at the Bears, he was on the left. It's fantastic. It's so heartening to see that we've got, someone who's still so young, who has so much potential and still hasn't reached that potential. And I'm going to call it as well. I think he's a future captain of the team. I know Critt is still very, very young, but I see Preston moving into a leadership and captaincy role as he gets older, for sure. Look, I actually think as well, he's better than Josh Jackson in that he has better ball playing ability than Josh Jackson. Take nothing away from Josh Jackson; he was fantastic, but I think that he's above Josh Jackson. Mace Biggs is asking Preston or Olakau'atu. Look, it's a good question. I'm not going to pretend like Olakau'atu and Preston are the same type of player. One, Ola Kawatu is a barnstorming second rower. Preston is a different type of second rower where he's full of effort plays, passing, and so on and so forth. So, look, I would say at this point in their careers, I would go Ola Kawatu over Preston, only because Ola Kawatu has a little bit more experience. But, you could go either way. What are your thoughts on that one, Dibbo?
Look, I reckon he doesn't need an injury to be there. If he has a good, strong next. Well, what round does the Origin kick off? 11 or something?
Yeah, 9, 10.
Let's just say as another 4 strong games. I mean, Hudson Young got, 3 Origin series in a row? And he was just dreadful at Origin. There's no reason why, with good form, Preston can force his way into the 17, regardless of injury or not. Yeah, I reckon he can be there. Ola Kawatu's made for Origin.
I agree 100%.
I think the way I can see Preston is coming off the bench, a good strong 15-minute stint here and another 15 minutes. He can do some dynamic, runs. He can motor and score tries out wide. He's very energetic. So, I mean, definitely he's suited to Origin. Whether he I don't see him displacing Ola Kawatu. I see there's room for him in the team. Not, you don't have to. No one, it's not about displacing Ola Kawatu. It's.
Yeah, but I was just responding to
if he wants me to choose, if he wants me to choose between Ola Kawatu and Preston at the moment, obviously Ola Kawatu's been around for how long? 6, 7 seasons. He's pretty awesome. He's played Origin.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
He's a big body. But obviously you're going to run with Ola Kawatu. What I'm just trying to point out, there's room for Preston in that State of Origin team. Just needs to keep playing the way he's playing.
I don't look personally. I think if Ola Kawatu's there, you've got Martin, you've got Crichton, you've got Yo. It's hard to see where Preston would fit. That's why I say if there's an injury, I don't like you don't want to have too many second rows on your bench, because don't forget we've also got front rows coming out of our backsides. Like we've got Payne Haas, we've got Terume, we've got Ito Ikamanu. There's so many props that can play for New South Wales. So it's like, you've got to balance the team well. So look, definitely very, very well deserved by.
I just want to send Nas and Skinny Z for a 6. So if the Dogs have now been in easy beats, how come Melbourne's losing to easy beats? If the Dragons are in easy beat, what happens there? So do we rule Melbourne out of, premiership contention?
Yeah,
it goes back the other way.
Yeah, I think Melbourne have been quite disappointing so far.
Yep. Somebody just dropped Emre Gula's name. I think he's taking the piss. Mace. Anyways, well, we can get him over here.
Next one I'll talk to very quickly is Harry Hayes. We've already glazed him a little bit, but just
great second season so far.
I'm gonna eat humble pie. Like I said that he was not that great. We shouldn't have him on the bench, but no, I was wrong. He's fantastic. I'm so glad he's in the team.
He's been really good for you since the first game he's played for you this year. Like, honestly, every game he's played for you, he's put in a shift and not just done his job. He's hitting hard in defense. He's running hard. Everything he's done has been quality. He's done it with interest. Go watch the highlights. Break down the highlights package, and he's put on some solid hits. He's done some runs with up the middle. Not just runs with ferocity, with intensity. He's giving us a good 30, 40-minute stint. It's been really good. Then you got Tupanua who can just charge onto the ball and score a few quick tries and, bust up the line or half breaks.
Unbelievable.
He scored 2 quality tries against the Dragons, and in the margin it was 2 tries. Like, didn't need to put in a big shift that Tupanua, but that's what you need from players. Got one that debuted last week, Jack Todd. And his name's been on the cusp. He's been on the cusp of first grade for since last year. So.
Yeah, it has been. And look, my only question is, how can
he's got Jack Underhill and Jack
Underhill. How do we fit Hayes when everyone is fit? So, for example, we have Hughes to come back, Burton to come back. We've got Kickout to come back. Does Salmon make way for Hayes? Does Hayes make way for Salmon?
Yeah, the beauty about this is the competition for spots heats up. Whether they stick with the regulars and people like Hayes and co like Jack Todd and Underhill slowly force their way in. The beauty about it is if they're not regular this year, some players will be surplus to requirements next year or the year after, and then You're only making them surplus to requirements because you're replacing with someone with at least their
Yeah,
ability
better. Yeah,
or better, and younger.
100%. Next player, I just want to call out very quickly because this guy is absolutely killing it, man. Is Connor Tracy. Um, Connor Tracy is you know a lot of people say, oh, you need a better fullback. You need a better number one to be able to win, or all this sort of stuff, bro. Honestly, Connor Tracy he's fucking killing it, man.
Wow. I'm
He's
just
currently
taking a closer look. How's Payne? How's Payne Haas not on? Honestly, there's 3 of those games Payne Haas has played in.
should have got full points.
How much is maximum for man of the match?
I think it's 6, isn't it?
Hey,
Pretty sure it's 6 points.
Haas should be at least on 18 points. Even against Canberra, he was still really
Yeah,
good and a
played very
well-beaten
well against
side.
Canberra.
The guy should be on at least 20 points. Absolute bias. Anyways,
Yeah,
back to
but I
topic.
mean, you look at Ponga. Sorry, Tracy. He's on 13 points. He'll be there the whole season. Inshallah, if he doesn't
Honestly,
get injured. And
oh,
Jai Gray won't. And I think Con Tracy is averaging over 200 meters a game this year. And he's just untouchable under the high ball. Like some of those kicks
that
that.
leaderboard, those players all deserve to be there. Just there's a few in, Terrell May, fantastic. Connor Tracy, brilliant.
I don't know how Cam Munster's there,
Press,
to be honest.
No, look, he's been good in Melbourne's wins. Like that win with Jerome Hughes against the Panthers, Munster was great. Preston deserves to be there. Wade Egan's been great. Tina, I'm so glad he's back.
Oh yeah, I think Egan's
Ponga's been
fantastic.
great in the wins. He was missing in that
Can't
loss.
deny Ponga. No, not denying Ponga, but I think like Tracy's earned that position. It's not like, there've been some errors there.
Oh, 100%.
This guy has absolutely, like, under the high balls last week against the Sharks, they did put him under a lot of pressure. And he was there to kick some ass.
I just think it's highway robbery that Payne Haas isn't on 20 points. Anyways.
And look, he didn't even come through as a fullback. He came through as a 5'8". And the way he's performing as fullback is, positional plays under the high ball, just really, really good.
That skinny Zed has had another go at you. I think it's got. Didn't this host used to praise Perham and Ockenbaugh? Oh my god! I think he remembers back to 3 seasons ago.
Yeah, look, I think the Dogs made a mistake letting go of Perham. I think he should be there instead of Connor Tracy.
No. Oh yeah, that's good. April Fools. I hope he caught on now. Anyway.
And I thought Ockenbaugh in this team, I think Ockenbaugh would have been very, very good. I don't care what anyone says. I think Ockenbaugh had the potential, but he was just part of the clean out. And you look, as Eddie Abs is mentioning, this was Tracy's first preseason as a fullback. X Defiant is asking, is Tracy enough to win a Prem? Let's be honest, do we need better? I think we can win a premiership with him. Honestly.
I mean, he's doing a great job. If you can strengthen in other areas, there's no need to get move him on. He's doing the job admirably already. He's got all the attributes. He doesn't have the most blistering of pace. He's got great pace, but he's got all the attributes. He does his. Look at Dylan Edwards. He doesn't have blistering pace, but he's got all the attributes. He's a workaholic.
He's got the work ethic.
He organised good, safe hands. He links up with the back line. Connor Tracy does the same thing. Connor Tracy returns the ball. He busts always a few lines, and he does half breaks, line breaks. He defends well. He organises the team well. You don't need to replace him if you just continue strengthening key areas, other areas, and improving. His attributes are there. There's every reason they can, as long as they just 100%. Meet the requirements in the other areas.
And look, he had a bit of a bad trial against the Broncos and sort of let in a couple of tries, but that performance seems like it was a freaking age away. He has come back on fire. Don't forget, Gus Gould, when asked who was impressed with in the preseason, he did say Connor Tracy. So Connor Tracy is sort of in the same position as Sexton. They're out to prove that they can be the ones that that can take us to a premiership. And look, to be honest, I think they can. Dylan Edwards is a good example for fullbacks who aren't the most sort of talented or gifted. And I think Connor Tracy is following that to a T. And lo and behold, it's Seraldo that's the coach that's sort of driving him in that position. So That's excellent. Look, special mention to Bronson Sherry. First time at Shark Park since obviously the suspension. He played with vigor and aggression. His defense this year has been impenetrable alongside Montoya. He is starting to back himself and show us the attack spark that we know he has. Ran over 170 meters against the Sharks and scored 2 tries. He had a point to prove, and he proved it. And it was amazing. It was very, very good. I'm just I think he's actually got a lot more to give, I think, in terms of attack. And we'll see that come through.
Yeah, agreed.
Now I do want to give I do want to play a video from one of our members, and also our channel sponsors, John Sard, who's the owner of Latitude Accounting. He went on SEN a little bit ago, and he spoke about the Bulldogs being undefeated. 4 rounds in, and round 4 will be the one where we make our mark. I just want to play the video for you guys because I loved it, and I thought it's quite telling. I really enjoyed it.
People thought he was delusional. He's having the last laugh.
Yes. Bulldogs, mate. I'm impressed. I think the first 10 rounds, we're a chance of going undefeated.
All right, here we go. Dragons. Okay. Yep. Titans at home.
Easy. Is that at Belmore?
Correct.
Yes, easy.
Eels away.
It's got nothing.
Sharks Stadium.
Tough one. That's when everyone will start to realise we're the real deal.
Knights at home.
That is when people will realise that we are the real deal. The Canterbury Bulldogs, 4-0, top of the table, undefeated. First time 4 in a row since 1993. Cronulla Sharks, too bad, too sad. We're coming. Jimmy Smith, SEN. It's our year, baby.
That was brilliant. That was brilliant, man.
How good was that?
Oh, he was on the money.
He was spot on.
I can't. Did Jimmy ask him for the next 5 rounds after the Newcastle game, or do we just play week by week as it comes if he keeps getting it right?
Yeah, we'll keep playing it. I think he said that there's a chance we could win the first 10 straight. Extra fight, yeah, that video was before the season started.
I'll tell you something about that video. Somebody posted it in the dementia chat that I'm part of with Skinny Zed. And I remember seeing it was John, and people in there were saying, "Look at this delusional Canterbury fan." And I thought, "Geez," I'm looking at it, I go, "That's John." I go, "We'll see we'll see when the season starts." Well, look at that.
Look, people did say that it was hopeful, but honestly, it ridiculously spot on the money, and I just thought it was very, very, interesting, and I wanted to just put it up there for you guys to have a look at. That is John. He's been a member for 8 months, and he did sponsor our channel last year. Very quickly, while I have you guys, please, if you can give this video a thumbs up. We do have memberships available to the channel. It is $6 a month. Just helps us run the podcast and cover a lot of the costs for our content creation. Thank you so much for all your support.
I'll tell you now, if Latitude Accountants is getting the footy tips right, then he's definitely going to be doing your accounting and bookkeeping immaculately. We did advertise it last year. You got to go with John, and no one listened. Anyway,
one guy I think needs an honorable mention very quickly is Jack Todd's finally debuted for the Bulldogs. So actually, he was supposed to debut round sort of 11-12 last year. When we had Adam Drusy on the podcast, he actually told us that Jack Todd is going to debut, but then he broke his right hand, then he broke his left hand, or was it the other way around? I'm not sure, but he broke both hands consecutively and couldn't make it. And instead, Lipboy, Hopboy, and Harry Hayes got an opportunity to debut. Look, he looked great for 16 minutes off the bench. He ran for 55 meters in 16 minutes, made 9 tackles, 0 missed. I think that Jack Todd, now that he's been chosen on the bench, it'll be hard to pry him off that bench. He's going to prove himself to be very valuable. He's a big boy. If you've seen him play New South Wales Cup or even in the trial, he's got good footwork at the line, great work ethic. Apparently, very similar to Harry Hayes in terms of work ethic. They did come through in the same SG ball team, and had to work very hard for him to get back to earning that debut, because he thought his chance was over. So very, very good from Jack Todd. Very, very happy seeing him. He is chosen again this week for the Knights. Now, I want to get to. I want to talk about the Bulldogs as a team and some controversial questions that we have. Actually, before that, let's talk about Mahoney. Everybody wants to talk about Mahoney. Let's talk about Mahoney. Is Mahoney a liability for the Bulldogs? Is Mahoney overstepping the line? Dibbo, you had a lot to You had a lot to say. Now's
Mahoney,
the chance.
Yeah, of course. Mahoney, and go back and watch the games. I'll happily sit down with you, and we can sit the game, and I'll point out everything. Mahoney, slow out of dummy half. Amount of times he's had the ball knocked out of his hands. He's dropped the ball from dummy half. He's given some shocking poor passes from dummy half. Service is slow. He's not really busting up the middle. You want to dart from your dummy half and put the opposition on the back line. He's not doing that. Honestly, he's not. He's always the first. A lot of times he's missing tackles as well. He's getting absolutely bowled over, but lucky he's got some good teammates there that are saving him from his blushes. I just think if he's had a dynamic dummy half, he would put you on the front foot even more. And the only reason a lot of you aren't realising it at the moment is because he's either too loyal to your players or because he's winning. You aren't realising. He's just happy to be winning. But I guarantee when those tougher games come, you'll start realising. There's a game or two I will actually have watched with Brian, chatting live, and a lot of other people, and all in unison were saying, look at Mahoney. But pay attention to him throughout the game and just see. He's not up to your team standards. He actually showed last year and the year before. And I'll tell you now, from a neutral point of view, your team's setting the bar high, and I don't think he's. The only reason a lot of his, as I said earlier, he's a loyal and he's just happy to be winning. But just see the standard your team's setting, and he's not up to it.
I strongly disagree. Of
course you are. Yeah, of course you are.
Look, hear me out. Hear me out. Mahoney makes the most tackles of any dummy half in the game. Mahoney is there 80 minutes every single game. He chops down. Plays 2-3 times his size. He's got a kicking game when we need it. His service out of dummy half is usually crisp. Recently, sure, in the first couple of games of the season, wasn't as great as I would have liked. But you're not going to have every single game that is the same. And he's worked on it clearly because his service out of dummy half this last game was ridiculous. If you look at some of the passes that he made, to set up some of those tries, like that first try that Preston scored, that was off a great bullet pass from Mahoney out of dummy half. Even the pass where Preston passed it on to Sherry, that was a great dummy half pass from the ground. I know that there are there are detractors, and he has a reputation for it. But you know why he has a reputation for it? Because other teams are sooks. When he chops down a big player and they get chopped down by a guy half their size, they're gonna have a sook. Mahoney is what the Bulldogs are all about. He's not taking a backward step, and I think part of the edge that the Bulldogs have against other forward packs comes from Mahoney. You take Mahoney out of that 9, and I'm telling you, we're not going to be as aggressive, and we're not going to be as in your face as having Mahoney there. So I don't really care what people think. And look, Brian Dib is saying his defense is the worst in the competition. What are you talking about?
His attack's not even flash. Come on,
what are you talking about? Okay,
I'm giving you from a neutral point of view. Just to add, is he on big bucks at your club? How much is he on the site? Does anyone have an idea?
Fairly, he's on a good amount of money. He will be on a good amount.
How much are we talking?
I would say he wouldn't be on less than 600,000 to get him out of the Eels.
Not.
Yeah, of course. To get him out of the Eels, I'm telling you,
not 400.
No way. Why the Eels? Who would have been banking that at the Eels?
I would say when does his contract run out?
Next year.
Nice, very good. Let it run out. This is for you, Eddie. So let it run out. There's a good young hooker coming through at the West Tigers. His name's Talon De Silva. Throw the money at him. You won't even need to throw as much, but make him your hooker for the next 10 years.
Hang on.
Next 10 years.
If you think that Talon De Silva could do what Mahoney does, honestly, you've got no idea. Sorry, Divo.
Yeah,
but if you think Talon De Silva can do what Mahoney does, you're watching. Honestly,
of course he can't do what Mahoney does. He already attacks better than Mahoney.
No, he does. Really? No, he's not.
Way better.
Nah, you have no idea, bro. He comes on to replace. There's no way.
Mahoney. Anyways, you Dory, keep him, and then I'll just hear your frustration at him as the year goes on. It's all right.
No, I strongly I think you have no idea. If you're going to get rid of Mahoney, you're going to need a defensive-minded dummy half, not an attack-minded dummy half. Dummy halves aren't all the same,
Look,
right?
just going
If you
back,
look
just
at
going back, just going back to Canterbury again. They're swarming defence. It less negates having a really defensive-minded hooker.
no, it doesn't.
If you have a dynamic attacker, wow.
No, but it's either one or the other. You can't even if you look at the way all dummy halves play, you can't be perfect in attack and perfect in defense. I know that Reed isn't perfect in defense, and we've spoken about this before. That I think that he needs to Hayward should be used as a replacement dummy half for 10, 15 minutes a half. That's what I think, right? But that doesn't mean that there's a problem with Mahoney. Sure, maybe his efficiency isn't as great as it could be, or whatever the case may be, right?
I just want to point out to someone, I absolutely got no issue with Mahoney being a grub. Like, honestly, I think that's one of his better attributes, being a grub. Bloody oath. Who wants to be a nice guy out there? Honestly, I don't know why everyone's got an issue with him niggling other players. If my hooker isn't niggling other players, then I'm going to give it to him. So, no issue. That's probably one of his better sides of the game.
No. Look, I'm not saying that Mahoney's perfect. I'm saying that he is, for our team, vital, right? He just needs to take, instead of playing 80, he needs to play 60, 65. That's all
I
it is.
think
Just
you
give him a
guys,
spell.
I think
Just
that's
give
your
him a
weakest.
spell.
I think he's your weakest player, and I think you guys can improve vastly on that.
Hey,
And I'm giving your team credit because rarely you hear someone say hooker's the weakest link.
In context, listen, in context of our team, if you say that he is our weakest link, that's because our team's doing very, very well. Let's see how we are. Okay, let's see how we are after Origin. Let's see how he goes after Origin. Let's see. We've only played 4 games. And look, in the Sharks game, he was brilliant, both in attack and in defense. He doesn't take the scoot out of dummy half. Not all dummy halves need to run. Not all dummy halves have running games. Look, I'm with you. I would love to have a little. I would love to have a little coming off the bench for us, replacing Mahoney, right, at maybe the 30th and the 70th minutes of each game, like Flanagan uses with Cook. I think that would be fantastic, right? And Hayward will not play 9. Hayward does not play 9. He's never been a 9. Hayward came through as a half and is playing a utility role, right?
I don't know where, and just look, I know we probably shouldn't be going off Mahoney, but I don't know where I see Hayward at your club in 2-3 years. Like, if he's, I'm sure he doesn't want to be kept being used as a utility. You get me?
Hayward will replace Man. Hayward will replace Man as a lock. Yeah, because Man, I don't see Man being with us for the next 3 years. Even though I would love him to be, I don't know if he's going to be able to do it for the next 3 years. Maybe after in 2027, Hayward becomes the man or the lock. Because I don't see Salmon re-signing. I don't see us re-signing Salmon either.
Does he want to become a starter?
Look, he's still young. He's only 21, so he's got time to build that.
And he would want to be a starter. Am I right? So if he's going to grow into the man, he has to be starting.
But think of it this way. I reckon if Hayward stays playing the way he is, if he has another good performance at 6 and he's only re-signed for 1 year, I reckon at the end of this year for 2027, people are going to be like, "Hey Hayward, come, we'll give you 5'8" money. Come be our 5'8." That's what's going to happen.
And don't forget, at the same time, with your team's stocks going up, the players' price values go up, and we all know with the salary cap, it's about balancing the books.
Yeah, 100%.
You know,
and
unfortunately,
it.
And you know what?
Mentioned it.
You've done well. You guys have absolutely done well to retain the players for as long as you can. But it's smart because you got some players coming through and they're already knocking on the door. And that's where you guys can start forward to letting some players go.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. And look, I'm with you. And look, X-Definer said, he'll be like the Atkinson of the Sharks or Wishart at the Storm. I think that he'll bide his time for a couple of years and then see where he ends up, because he knows that if he stays at the Dogs, there's a premiership up for grabs for him. And he knows that if he continues to perform, he'll be part of that team moving forward. Who wouldn't want to win a competition? And like I said, I don't see Salmon being re-signed, right? I don't see Turpin being re-signed. There's a couple of other, Hutchison, I don't see him being re-signed. They're all off contract.
Yeah, good shouts. They're players that can free up money for some of those. Yeah. And I don't consider them fringe first graders, but I'll consider them the new blood. And it's money that retains the new blood, such as Jack Todd, Jack Underhill. Jack Underhill's going to debut sometime.
They were re-signed. Todd and Underhill are both re-signed till end of 2027.
Yeah.
right? So, but it looks like the Dogs are doing well. Okay, now next question: When will the So actually, first I want to mention Buzz is an absolute gronk. Like, this guy wants to talk shit about Mahoney. The only way to vent his frustration is by talking shit about the Dogs after they absolutely destroyed his Sharks. And he's like, "I need to do this, let's do that."
I don't know why he went and made an article about Mahoney, just doing what a lot of other players do. Like, go focus about your team, how shit they are. His team have had it good for so long. They've had everything swing their way with players wanting to come, like with coaching, with literally year in, year out, the easiest draw. They literally get if you guys have read the articles over the last 4 or 5 years, they've repeatedly got the easiest draw. And what are they finishing? 4th, 5th?
Yeah.
You know, they got a stacked player lineup, and I'm sure they're breaking the third party rules. I honestly hope they start collapsing. Honestly, I honestly do. Can't even get more than 11,000 people to a game, and that's with them winning and being in the finals repeatedly. Is there ever a team that needs to be relocated? That's one side.
Yeah, 100%. And look, Buzz is trying to deflect. That.
I hope he shuts. I hope they just completely keep losing. Honestly.
And you know what? Like, even a top 4 team, I can't see them beating many teams. They're just not playing up to the standard. Sorry, that's the truth. Very quickly,
Norm, just to answer your question, right? You're a Dogs fan, and I know a lot of Dogs fans, but every Dogs fan thought Mahoney was a bitch and a prick when he was at Parramatta. So a typical Dogs fan's response to that about talent is silver. Kid's all class.
I don't think he's a bitch. I reckon he's very classy. I just don't think he fits our type of play.
What Dogs fans used to say about Mahoney.
I love Mahoney. I think Mahoney is the perfect Bulldog. And
just because he doesn't play for your side doesn't make him a bitch, because that's what you thought about Mahoney when he was at Para.
No, I don't think any Bulldogs players thought of that. He was a Bulldogs junior. Don't forget, we let him go.
The fans thought that of him.
Anyway, very quickly, when will the next loss for the Bulldogs come? So, to give you guys a quick draw, right? We've got the Knights in Accor. Then we got the bye. Then we have the Rabbitohs at Accor. We have the Broncos at Suncorp, the Titans at Suncorp, and then we've got the Raiders in Canberra. When do we see the first loss coming for the Bulldogs?
As long as they don't get complacent. I hate discussing that far ahead, because it's just it's unfair on the players, the team. What if they lose and everyone comes back to you? It's a good draw.
Having a discussion, brother. This is a podcast. Be honest. Stop being softy.
It's a good draw, but I don't know. How many players are you going to lose to Origin?
I mean,
you see what I'm alluding to? You see what I'm alluding to?
Yeah, I mean, other than Burden and Crichton, I don't really see us losing that many players. I mean, maybe Preston, but I doubt it. We're going to be pretty full strength.
Besides Mahoney in your team, who are Queenslanders?
Mann is a Queenslander. He could find himself on the bench.
Is Kurt Mann a Queenslander?
Yeah.
You sure?
100%.
I thought he was from the Canberra area.
No, he's a Queenslander.
Wow, that's the first time I knew that. All right. I'm surprised he hasn't played Origin at least a couple of games. You know, Queensland's always been good. They've always given literally almost every Queenslander a running in Origin. Anyone else?
No, that's it. Yeah, so like, do the Broncos? I think the Broncos maybe pose the biggest threat, because even up until round
8, is
12, round 8 against the Broncos in Suncorp, and then
I'm just having a look.
Roosters. We've got Dolphins. Then we've got the Eels again, round 14. Then we've got the Rabbitohs again.
Who just on that? I like giving a bit of history course. It's been 30 years since the Super League War ignited. Who remembers with the Super League War? And I think Canterbury was first on the 4th. It was weird. Canterbury was front and center of that Super League War, whereas they had a lot of players that supported the Super League. I think they might have been the first club to go over. But in the same process, they lost 4 of their stars to Parramatta, if you guys remember that. Dean Pay, Jared McCracken, Jim Dimmick. I'm forgetting who the 4th player was now. Anyways, that's one for a rivalry round anyway when you guys play them. 4 players from Canterbury to Parramatta. That must have hurt back then.
So do we think round 8,
If somebody's saying round 8, I don't even like talking about losses, man. I just like taking it week to week. Well, they did beat you in the trials, so he's got Canberra away. That's a tricky game, but Canberra's capitulated the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, so I've put round out and round 11, but even if you guys don't think, round 8 or round 11, I know we're being super cocky. I don't care. This is the Bulldogs podcast. If you don't like it, get out of here. We're going to be super cocky. I'm always going to be cocky.
I'll tell you what's been good, I like to see, ever since the Gold Coast played you guys, they've strung a couple of wins together. They've looked good. Looked good against the Roosters. Happy to see them winning.
Yeah, which shows that maybe we're better than people are giving us credit for. But
100%.
Just sort of putting it out there. When do we lose our first game? Because I don't, realistically speaking, I don't know. Like, we have to beat the Rabbitohs. I'm not giving us an option of losing that game, right? We have to beat the Knights because the Knights can never beat us ever again after beating us 66-0 2 years ago. Do we lose our first game against against the Broncos? Do the Titans seek some revenge? I don't know. I'm really confident, and I'm also very cocky. And I'm happy to admit that. So, happy to hear thoughts. Now, one question that Dibbo was posing very quickly was, are the Bulldogs more fluid in attack with Hayward at 6 over Burden?
Yeah. That was and give you your answers, boys, and everything. I'm obviously not expecting anyone to agree with me. Call it as you see it. I'd love to see the different opinions. But like I said earlier, they realise we're not relying almost solely on him to put those booming kicks up to get us out of trouble. You know how Berto attacks really well on the left side. He's got that nice running game, and he also links up with the left side. It was awesome to see the players realising he's not there. And obviously, Cam would have rammed it into him the whole week. And obviously, people like Cred and the other leaders in the team would have rammed it into the players as well. We all got to put in extra. He's not there to kick us out of trouble. He's not there to direct the play. And then Sexton stood tall. Hayward came and slotted in, organised the attack. Mahoney hadn't got his hands on the ball as much, but a lot of times people don't realise about halves. They're the ones that sit there on their side because now it's played. Before it used to be the 6 and 7 used to play more like a first and a second receiver. They still kind of do, but for example, the 7 might take the left side or the right side, and the 6 will take the other side. But they were just sitting there, organising plays. They'll call a +1, the prop targets forward. They might then call a +2. You stand up there for a phase ball. They'll call it. You stand deep. We're going to play flat this set, for example. And I'm pretty sure Hayward was calling all those plays, and everyone was responding. And Sexton, got to put more of a variety of his kicks in, and or for example, we're going to play to the one side more often because we don't have that booming left boot. For example, it felt like they played more up the middle. I felt that's what it felt like anyway. But I don't know. It was just like everyone got more. It just felt like everyone kind of put up their hand more than normal. I know it was 20-6, but for me, it didn't feel like a 20-6 scoreline. It felt like a 32-6 scoreline. It was pleasing to see. Like they could have scored a few more tries.
And that try on halftime that was disallowed. That was a try. Why was that disallowed?
Yeah, of course. It was just another bullshit call. And then don't forget, Cronulla got a lot of relieving penalties and piggybacks from the ref.
They got too many. And they always do. But yeah, so do you guys think? I don't know. Is he? It's hard to say because I think ultimately Burden is a much better 5'8" at the moment.
100%. You got to put Berto back in. I really liked what I saw. It's only 1 week. Imagine they do it again this week. But as I said, when Berto comes back, Brian's back. He's going to get angry about me talking about Berto. But when Berto comes back, he's going straight to the 6. Hayward reverts to the bench. Because last year they made the finals playing that style. They almost made the 4. They're undefeated at this time of the year. So it'll go back to normal. I just like what I saw, and I want to see it again this week. I'd love to see like a 40-6 scoreline this week. Maybe even a 50.
Do you think when Burden comes back, he will feel more pressure on himself to perform now that we know Hayward can do a job?
No, not at all.
He will. I reckon he might feel a little bit pressured.
I think he'll just come back. Thanks for warming up my seat. And, I'll go just get, he'll be buoyed on that. For example, let's just not get ahead of ourselves. So let's just say they win this week. He knows he keeps the standards, Birdo. He came from a winning culture.
Mm.
He knows what it takes. He's played State of Origin. He knows he's pretty much their marquee player. He's not going to feel the pressure. No, not
Fair
at
enough.
all.
I mean, fair enough. I would think that he, given the way the team's running and the way the team's
Yep.
performing, he would feel like he needs to step it up because he's got someone chomping at his heel, knowing that if he steps out of line, he could be easily replaced. Not saying that he will.
No,
but
it's
saying
not at that stage. He's part of the culture. He holds players to high standards.
I agree. You're talking to the choir. I love Burton. I'm just saying, Haywood played well. Final question. Apparently, Adrian Lamb said on a podcast that the Bulldogs have started shopping Tom Amone around to UK teams.
Who's on which podcast? On Adrian podcast?
I don't know which podcast it was, but he did confirm in an interview that Tom Amone.
Is it just tactics to try to destabilise and get him back to Lee Leopards because that's where he came from?
Well, I mean, isn't Adrian Lamb?
Lee said they'd love to have him back. So if it's true, they would have had him back already.
Yeah, but isn't he? But he said that the Bulldogs have already started chopping him around.
It's a matter of just releasing him out of the salary cap. Lee Leopard said they have money in their salary cap to take him back. Well, if it's true, then why haven't they taken him?
Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe the Bulldogs are waiting.
It's disappointing because wasn't there a bit of fanfare? Wasn't there quite a bit of fanfare signing him? Wasn't he like the best prop in the English Super League last year, or no?
He was by far one of the best props in the Super League, and I remember speaking to some people in the club when Tom Amone was signed, and they were very, very excited, and apparently was going to be, one of our solutions to our forwards shortage. But I think
what's happened? He has not bought into the culture of hard work and training, and is there something happening there, or is it just all hearsay?
I mean, I don't know if it's that he hasn't bought in.
So look at Fafeta's straight into first grade. He's doing He's doing a great job. He's looked
dynamic. And the way Seraldo's easing him into first grade, I think is fantastic. He scored that great try against the Eels, and I think for the first,
if you remember if you remember the first tackle of the year for the Dogs, he jolted the ball from Emre Gula.
Yeah, that's right.
He set the standard straight away. What a start to the year that was.
So it's interesting. To see that Tom Amone, I was really excited about seeing Tom Amone play. I think that he could be great. But then, we didn't know we were going to sign Zion Maiu'u. We didn't know we were going to sign. Leo Thompson. Depth. We didn't know Harry Hayes was going to come on as well as he did. Sam Hughes. Sam Hughes was a starter for us every single week. He hasn't played a single game for us.
Be back.
He will be back. But just to say, our depth is looking so much better at the moment. And look, just quickly, I want to point out, X-Defiant is saying that, Daniel Sulika-Fafita only plays 15 minutes. This is not a shortage on his part, but it's the way Seraldo brings on new forwards. He did that with Sam Hughes when he first started in first grade. He did that with Chris Patolo when he first started in first grade as well, was playing in very short minutes until they get ready to the speed, and then he plays them a lot more. Jack Todd only played 16 minutes. It's all these things that Seraldo does to make sure that he's not throwing people into the deep end, which has proven, fantastic. So, it's very disappointing. I hope that Tom Amone does get a chance to play at least one first grade game for us, just for us to see what he can do. But at the moment he's playing off the bench in New South Wales Cup, which it doesn't bode very well, and I'm quite disappointed about that. Let's see how we go there. Someone asked earlier, when do I think Zion Maiu'u will get a run in first grade? I think it won't be until I don't think it'll be until round 10, 15, given that we've got Jack Todd, Harry Hayes, we've got Sam Hughes to come back round 9, we've got we've got a Lipboy, Hotboy who can play there. We've got Curtis Morin who can't even get a run in the first grade team. So we've got great depth at the moment. It's
a great headache to have.
Yeah, it's such a good headache to have. Yeah, very, very good headache to have.
If somebody's form drops off, I'll tell you now, there's 10 good blokes waiting in the wings. Guarantee it. It's a 100%. Nice headache to have. If the whole squad's form drops off, then it's a bad problem.
Then it's a worry. Very quickly, Mahoney, some negatives. Mahoney copped 2 fines, obviously about $3,500 worth. One for the high shot on Rudolph, and
The club couldn't pay
one
that.
for the shoulder on Jackson. He's paid it. Obviously, he'll be playing this week against the Knights, but the NRL thinks he should have been suspended or binned for his hit on Atkinson, and
Who?
apparently there's going to be so apparently there's going to be a crackdown this weekend because there are a few shots that should have been sin binned that weren't. So there is going to be a crackdown by the referees, and you know, us rugby league fans, we love a crackdown, don't we? We know how good they go. They're always fantastic. I can't wait for a crackdown. Can't wait for the crackdown. Good stuff, NRL. Last gone easy.
Are we gonna move on to the games for this week?
Just wanted to also mention quickly, Fafita, Tupanua, is suspended for 1 match. He's taken the early guilty plea for his late hit on Trindle in the 80th minute. Also,
Suspended?
very quickly, for 1 week for his hit on Trindle. Yeah. And so Fafita, by the way, was not talking shit to him when Tupanua was walking to the sheds. He was telling him just wait and then go back out on the field so you can celebrate with your team. Fafita came out and addressed it on Instagram, and so did Gus Gould. So there was that there. Now, the Dogs versus Knights. I haven't confirmed this yet, but I think we will be going live tomorrow with the Knighted podcast. Giving a live preview of the Dogs versus the Knights tomorrow night at either 7:30 or 8 p.m.
He's a good
go on,
fella.
Debo. He's a great guy.
He's a great guy.
Yeah. And so we should be going live again tomorrow, hopefully. But I will send out some social media stuff to confirm that if it does happen. And Dibbo and I will I'm not sure if Dibbo, are you going to be? I don't know if you're going to be free for that tomorrow.
I'll try.
But we'll definitely be there. We'll definitely hopefully be there tomorrow. Now, the Dogs versus Knights team. So as you can see, it's the exact same team that was named to take on the Sharks, with the exception being Tupanua suspended and Moran comes in. The Knights are missing a few, but I want to point out very, very quickly, and I think it's very important to point out, Jacob Kiraz has been named in the extended bench, and he is a strong chance to play, provided he can get through training tomorrow, which means that we may see one of our favorite boys putting on the jersey this week. It'd be a shame for Wilson, because I think Wilson's done such an admirable job, especially against the Sharks. But Kiraz is next level.
What a weapon.
And to be honest, I think if Kiraz was had played all year, and sort of seeing how the team's going, not only would Sherry be in discussions for Origin, but I think that Kiraz would be strongly considered a smoky to play on the wing in place of potentially Lomax, because I just think that he's got it in him. And he's an Origin style player. And Tot was injured as well, so he may not be chosen for the Blues. So if Kiraz can string a few good games together, we may see him, get chosen there. But I hope he doesn't get chosen for the Knights game, not because I don't want to see him play, but I think he doesn't need. We don't need to rush him back and give him an extra 2 weeks. Yeah, we've got the bye coming up.
Well said.
You're saying they're missing some players. What are your thoughts on the Knights team, Dibbo?
There's some good players there, but you guys got their measure. I just hope you guys towel them up like 40-6 and keep Ponga quiet.
Yeah, look,
I don't know. I'm looking at their team. Unless Ponga has a scintillating game, Bradman Best is always a handful, but he's playing up against Sherry and Crichton. Two good guns. Who's going to break you up?
I think one thing that I
he's all class, Ponga. I just wish he played at a better club. I'm being fair income.
I'm with you as well.
I'm going to go. Think that, and don't forget they got smacked last week, Newcastle. I didn't even tip them last week. I tipped their opponents, and something I was on the money with. I'm going to go Canterbury 40-6. I hope you guys smack them.
I think it's a great shout. What a couple of things I want to point out. So I think James Chiller's been great for them on the wing. Dane Gagai has had a really, really, really poor start to the season. Fletcher Sharp has been great for them at 6, but they are missing Dylan Lucas, who I think has been their best player besides Kalen Ponga. Best has been okay, but I think that Dylan Lucas has been their best player, and they're going to miss him sorely against us. Not sure. Like Thomas Kant, he's not bad, but he's not Dylan Lucas, and Dylan Lucas has been fantastic. That's a big out for them. Don't forget they're also missing Kai Pearce-Paul, who I think adds a lot to their second
Classy
row.
player. Yeah,
very, very classy player. So it's a shame that they're missing him. They've got Jermaine McEwen. I don't know if he's debuting this week. I don't think I've seen him play before, but he's another one that I think he's a new player.
Anyway,
I think Jack Hetherington's been really poor this year. As long as we can be consistent with how we've played recently, I think that this is not going to be a walk in the park. It's going to be a tough game, but I do think we'll put more than 30 on them, and they'll struggle to put more than 14 on us, even with Ponga there. Because I think one of the problems that the Knights have is that if you are able to shut down Ponga, and just have a set defensive line, without any unstructured play, they're no good. I don't think they can do set plays as well as other teams can. So I'm going to say maybe 40-14, 42-14, something like that. But I am being cocky. I know I'm being cocky. My heart says 40-14. My brain says probably 28-12. We as long as we're consistent and play like we did against the Sharks, we will win them. We'll win this game. We'll win this game well, and we'll just give Leo a preview of what he's coming to next year. You were saying, Dibbo, what did you say?
40-6 Dogs.
Yeah, sounds a bit cocky, but it is what it is.
Let's just throw it out there.
Yeah, 40 is there. A couple of things I want to discuss very quickly. I know that we've been going for a while, and this has been a great, it's been so good today. Very quickly, want to talk about your Dragons. They beat the Storm, which I think needs to be celebrated. They did deserve to win, no matter how much you want to hate on your team. They did deserve the win. Storm weren't great, but because the Dragons put so much pressure on them, they defended remarkably. And I thought the Storm definitely missed Jerome Hughes' steady hand at halfback. They definitely missed him.
100%. Yeah, the Storm were poor. The Dragons, I guess, in their part, defended well to keep them to one solitary try. Obviously got a lot of improvement because they themselves only scored 2 tries and seemed to be on the back foot for large parts of the game. Played down in
but don't forget, this was against like a Melbourne Storm team that was almost full strength.
Regardless, I mean, if you want to be a front runner, you can't. If you really want to see improvement and be a front runner, you can't just be dominated for the last swathes of the game.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not going to win you every week. It's going to lose you most weeks. They scrambled well. They got a really tough, tricky game this week. They got against Parramatta, who are winless, and if you go off the law of averages, the more you lose, the more closer you are to a win. So surely Parra's going to win one eventually.
I don't know if this is correct, but it's saying that there was only 6,000 people at the game.
Yeah, miserable conditions.
Is that correct?
Yeah, there was. If you saw, it was raining and windy. Don't forget, Cogra Oval was open to Botany Bay there. It's not like a lot of, Shark Park, Cogra Oval, and Wollongong pretty much, and like Brookvale, cop win more than other stadiums. Because don't forget, the Bay Area there, directly behind Cogra Oval, and it's open to the heads there. So that howling.
But I don't want excuses. That's pathetic.
Oh, trust me.
That's pathetic from.
Yeah, but if you
that's
had, it was
pathetic
rain.
from Dragons supporters.
What do you want to do? Stand in the rain? That grandstand leaks raining there. You know that?
That's 6,000 people. How is that acceptable?
You can't.
That's so bad, bro.
They need a stadium. They need a proper stadium. Something I've argued for a long time.
Come on, you guys have 2 stadiums, bro. You have two stadiums to choose from.
On the water. Which genius built them on the water where it's all wind and rain?
Have you seen
Wollongong on a rainy day?
That's ridiculous.
Have you seen Wollongong on a stormy day? What about on a day when it's foggy, when the fog rolls in? Don't get me wrong, they've got 2 of the most picturesque stadiums, but in the worst spot when it comes to miserable weather.
6,000 fans.
You're not going to get, you'll be lucky. You'll be lucky to get more.
Hey, let me tell you something. Lachlan Elias had a great game. I reckon Lachlan Elias had a
No,
great
I
game.
mean he had a safe game. He kicked the ball this time. Flanagan Jr. still doesn't know how to kick a ball. How many times he knows? There's still then. There was a lot of sets they just tackled out the 6 instead of
He'll never
putting in
learn. He'll never learn how to kick the game. He'll never learn how to kick a ball. He doesn't
not
want
a
to.
kicker.
Not a
Atkinson
kicker.
can't come quick enough. Anyways,
Anyway, so I want to talk a little bit about the upcoming round very quickly. I just want your tips. If we're gonna start with the Raiders against the Sharks on Thursday night at GIO Stadium. What are you tipping there?
Sharks and GIA Canberra. Far out. Hate Canberra. They always make life difficult. They always make life difficult. Every year, every week, they make life difficult. Sharks, Canberra. Who are the Sharks? Are the Sharks missing everyone? I don't wait for their lineup earlier.
I think they're missing Kyle Iro. They're missing Hamlin Uele. Talakai's out with a head injury, HIA.
Nice.
But they do get Tom Hazelton back.
Well, I'll go Sharks. They have to bounce back. As much as I want to tip Canberra, I hope Canberra still win though. I'll tip Sharks.
I'm going Sharks. Sharks in a close one, I reckon.
I hate that team.
Panthers against the Cowboys. Cleary is back. Dane Laurie is still at fullback, but there is a chance that their fullback Edwards comes back as well.
And what about on the Cowboys side? Oh, they're still ordinary. For some reason, they've just been ordinary this year. When
they
did
have
they pick
been
it up?
very ordinary.
They got stacked forwards. Where's Hilliam Lukey?
No, Lukey's out with the ACL for the rest of the year.
The Cowboys should have just let him sign with St. George. That would have saved them $600K out of the cap. Remember St. George St. George offered him more, but because the Cowboys almost matched their offer.
He re-signed with them for like 5 years.
Yeah, he was suing Cogro. I mean, he was suing the facilities at Wollongong, and he was about to sign, but then the Cowboys got close to the offer, so he stayed with them. Should have just let him go. That's the whole season gone. Anyways, back to topic. I'm going to go the Panthers. I think it's time to bounce back. I have to, man.
Yeah, I reckon the Panthers 12 plus.
Yeah, Fisher Harris was a big loss up in the middle. Yeah. He's battle hardened.
I think one of the biggest problems that the Panthers do have is their forwards. I don't rate Lindsay Smith. People are
he's
not
a front rower. He's not a front rower. He's more like a second rower.
Yeah.
They need a bulky, because they lost one of the Bash brothers. Moses Leota's the other bulky forward. They don't know. Your props are meant to be more rounded.
I think this year they'll need to go out and buy a couple of props. Or debut some bigger boys because their benches
they got some lower graders. They got some lower graders. They should start blooding them.
I think the bench is weak. Like they've got Schneider, Eisenhuth, Liam Henry, and Luke Garner on the bench. I don't like only Liam Henry is a genuine prop, and even then, I don't know if he's a prop. So I think they need to go out and buy themselves a couple of props. Interestingly, Isaiah Papali'i is named in the second row, but he'll probably play up the middle again when Luke Garner comes on. But yeah, they need some props. But I am going Panthers.
I'll go
still.
Panthers, man. Yeah, I don't know what the Cowboys are doing. Anyways, they'll like it even get away with it against Canberra.
Rabbitohs versus Roosters at Accor Stadium, Rabbitohs home ground. Jai Gray, interestingly, still at fullback with Latrell Mitchell named at centre.
I'm gonna go the Roosters. Honestly, as much as I want to tip South, I'm going to go the Roosters. Honestly, I think Souths are going to bottle this one.
I'm going to go Souths.
Oh, see, they're the favourites. Yeah, you have to.
No. Yeah. I'm going to go Souths, and I'm going to go Souths big. Like, I'm saying 50 big.
I think they'll go huge.
Oh, I think the Rabbitohs are I think the Roosters are rubbish. Like, not like.
Oh, I'm not rating them. I don't think they'll make the 8. Definitely not.
No, forget the 8. Forget the 8. Yeah. Seeing how the Rabbitohs performed last week and seeing how the Roosters performed last week, I think it's clear that the Roosters will be lucky not to get. The Roosters are lucky that the Eels are so shit because there'd be a chance of getting the spoon.
The Roosters can beat sides like St. George, but yeah, they won't get.
Not this year. I think that Chad Townsend, unfortunately, is played on a year too long. And I don't think Robinson. I don't think Robinson has the coaching chops that the Roosters
need. He gets a stacked side every year. He does.
100%. And now that he doesn't have 30 internationals, he's proving what a bit of a stud coach that he is.
I'd love to see him get the spoon. I just think somehow they'll upstage Souths yet again.
Nah,
They
they
seem to
won't.
have you
No
realised
way.
they seem? Have you realised they seem to upstage Souths more often than not? Roosters
Look,
luck. Anyway,
the way they're playing and the forward pack, how they're performing.
they got
I
some
just reckon-
mad players like Sia Wong and Nafahu White. Wow,
but they've done nothing this year. The one.
Nafahu
the-
White and Sia Wong. Come on,
Nah,
strong.
they've been.
Hey,
average.
I'll tell you, hasn't hit the heights of last year yet because he did have a slow start last year. Angus Crichton.
Yeah, agreed. That's
He's been
fine.
quiet. But wait till he
then-
starts.
Yeah, but then you look at their backs. Like the only one that
Robert
their
Toy
backs
is
are okay.
Robert Toy is young. He's inexperienced, but he's
Oh,
grown.
but he's my
Mark
favourite one.
Mark
I'm
Nawana
a fan of him.
Katawasi. How
I'm
do
a
you say
fan
that
of him.
name? That's not.
Nawanga Tinawasi. But whatever. Point is, right?
Hey, I know how to say
Roosters-
Pausa Malaawi now. So anyway, go on.
Pa'asu Malawi. But
Pausu Malaawi. I'm learning. I'm practicing.
I reckon Roosters will
Paasua.
put a
Paasua
massive score.
Malawi.
I
Anyway.
reckon Rabbitohs will put a massive score on the Roosters. I reckon.
Oh, that'd be nice. I'm just gonna
Yeah, I
go on
reckon
the
Rabbitohs.
Roosters.
Eels versus Dragons at Combank. I reckon Dragons to put a big score on them.
I'm worried for the Dragons because the Eels have lost their first 4. I'd love to see the Eels lose their first 8, but I mean the Dragons. It would have been a draining win last week. It's a tricky game. You went from playing the first side, who are now third, but the first and other team coming last. And the team desperate for a win. And the more you lose, the closer you are to a win, as they say, as the law of averages demands that eventually you're going to win one. I hope the ref doesn't give Para a leg up because they're on their home ground.
Look, they'll be better. The Eels should be a little bit better, but if you guys lose this game to the Eels with their absolutely non-existent attack and their inability to do any set plays, and if you guys don't target Sean Russell and Will Penasini,
Well, they already lost the Souths.
Given Holmes and Tuipulotu are facing them, bro, you guys don't deserve to do anything but get the spoon. You guys should win and win comfortably. Granted, you guys are missing Emre Gula at prop, but he's chosen, Flanagan's chosen Blake Lowry. Why isn't Loco Pacific Tonga getting a shot? Like, come on, give
He
Loco
will.
Pacific
He
Tonga a chance.
will. Yeah, I agree. He will. He will.
Even that Viliami Fafita in New South Wales Cup, I don't understand why he's not getting a shot at first grade. Anyway, you guys should win this comfortably. I'm going Dragons by plenty.
Johnny Sard's back. Johnny Sard. I think you missed our earlier segment on him.
Yeah, John, I think you missed it. You definitely missed it. We played your video.
We played your video.
Oh man,
John. That was brilliant.
People
Johnny
loved
Sard.
it, bro. It was hectic.
Yeah, that was awesome, Johnny. On the money. That was mad. I think
it was great. Yeah.
You can watch it
That was
later
great.
on, Johnny. If you skim through, you'll see yourself on SEN. That was great.
Titans, Dolphins. Unfortunately, I see that.
I'm going to go Titans.
Winning.
Oh, you want
I'm
Dolphins?
going to go Titans. Definitely go Titans. I don't see
Titans.
the Dolphins winning. I don't know what's happened there, but it just seems like they're probably not responding to Wolf up there.
And
in
also,
Redcliffe.
Malaawi makes a difference.
Oh, it makes a big difference. He's
Big
Captain
difference,
Courageous. I'm going to go. And then we got Broncos and West Tigers in Suncorp Stadium. Where's Shaff? Where's Liver 81 Shaff when you need him?
We're the Broncos, the mighty Broncos. We're the greatest team of them all. Oh, whoever made those.
I reckon.
Taken behind the back shed, but anyway.
I'm gonna say, Tigers to beat the Broncos in Suncorp.
Swear this guy. You know what? This guy likes being the contrarian.
Nah, hey,
contrarian.
listen.
Turn
everyone
it.
gave me crap
to say tip in the Tigers.
Let me tell you something. Everyone gave me crap. For tipping the Dragons against the Storm. Everyone.
I tipped them. But a last minute I did.
Yeah, but they're your team.
At the last minute. It started raining. Well, it was raining anyway.
I reckon Tigers in a tight one against the Broncos, only because I reckon the Broncos are inconsistent and they're not as good as everyone's making them out.
I'm going to go the Broncos by 24, and I hope they don't win by more because I'll look like an idiot. I'm going Broncos by 24. I think teams like the Tigers will starting to get pegged back, as shown by the Warriors last week.
I disagree.
I was all there for the win by the Tigers, and they botched it or they bottled it. Who else?
Storm versus Eagles at 4 Pines Park. I'm going to go Storm by 12.
Far out. No
No
who's really
Tommy
news? No Tommy.
and no
Okay, that's
Joe Muse,
good. That's mad. That threw a spanner noise. Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that one. I'm going to go the Storm.
Yay! We got
That was a good one.
consensus.
All right, who
Um,
else?
And then that's it.
The Wa-
Bulldogs against Knights.
And the
we've
Warriors
already
got the bye. Yeah,
yeah, Warriors have the bye.
fantastic win by them last week. By the way,
It was a great win.
it was
I
all
thought
there
the-
for
I
the
thought-
Tigers to win.
Yeah,
That Halasima. Oh,
great,
was he a
great
back?
try.
He's only 19 years old. That was
It was a
phenomenal.
great try. It was
Jack-
disappointing. It was disappointing. There was a couple of plays there where I thought Fatape, instead of kicking the ball, should have picked it up. That was disappointing. And then on the right hand side where they played the ball and there was no one at marker, that was also disappointing. They could have won that. They didn't. It is disappointing, but I do think that the Tigers will come back strong. I know I am being a bit contrarian. I know every week I make one of these big bold calls, but that's my bold call. I think the Tigers will beat the Broncos. The Broncos are great, but not as great as everyone's making them out to be. And with that, I think we've finally come to the end of the podcast. It's been a great episode. We should be back tomorrow live with the Knighted podcast to preview the Dogs v Knights. But every Tuesday we'll be here 7:30 every single Tuesday. Someone asked us before why we are not yet in the studio and Ramadan is over. It's a good question. I did speak to the studio manager today. We are a couple of weeks away from being able to use that studio, and so it is unfortunately going to take us some time. I can't wait to get back to the studio.
We can't be in a studio right away, but there's a specific studio we just want to use, and that's about it. We could have been in some of the old studios from round one, but we just want to use this specific studio. Yeah.
It just makes our lives so much easier in the studio. It's a brand new studio. The audio equipment will be off tap. The video equipment is brand new. Everything will be fantastic. Guys, just ignore the haters. Ignore people in the comments.
No. Don't be silly. Mo is watching our podcast. Thanks, Mo, for tuning in. He's just having a bit of a laugh. He's here. Thanks for tuning in, Mo. So I love you boys for being loyal. It's all good. Mo is having
Jamie,
a laugh.
the Jamie the goat. Oh man, you're a legend, Jamie. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your support. Next week, send us your questions early. I will put a post up. Send us your questions in discussion points, and controversial, not controversial, whatever you want. Send us, and we will go through them just like we went through them today. We love you all. It's going to be a great game of footy. Can't wait to see the Dogs go 5 in a row. We are undefeated. We are coming for you. We're coming for everyone, and we are going to be there.
Yep. Told you Mo is having a laugh. There you go. See?
Yeah. Mo is a bit of a dog, but it's all right. It's all good.
He's a good bloke. He's tuning into our podcast. All credit to him. Thank you.
Love you guys. Thank you so much. Give us a thumbs up before you go. Make sure that you subscribe, share our podcast with your friends, with everyone that loves rugby league. Give us a thumbs up, and we will see you guys next week. Have a great one. Take care.
See you, gents.